Okay, hello again everyone, and back I have another Task 2 live stream, and we'll just go through a question together and analyze it, generate ideas, look at all your ideas, and I'll give you feedback on all of those things. So I'll just quickly check to make sure that the live stream is up and running. Okay, good. Hi Noni, thanks for joining again. Good to see you. Okay, so good. Technology is working anyway. Hi Arbin. So I was thinking, like we did last week, we'll just wait 1 or 2 minutes for other people to join. Arbin, you're ahead of me. I was going to say, do you have any questions? Yep. So if any of you have any questions, hi, Chao Ngo. Yep. Go ahead, Arbin, or anyone else. Just for 1 or 2 minutes at the end of the lesson, I'll answer any questions you have as well. But just while we're waiting, can I use dependent clause inside dependent clause? No, you can't. Hi, Ryan. Arbin as well. Don't push yourself so far. Like, you can get a very high score without making things so complicated for yourself. Just stick with independent, dependent. You're not really going to need anything more than that. If you can do those properly, you're already set for a high grammar score. So just focus on what will actually improve your score rather than trying to, technically improve your grammar, but you're just making things more difficult for yourself. Try to focus on the things that need your attention most. Ryan wants to get started. All right. So there are a few people here. We can definitely get started. This week I'm going to kind of go through the question a bit slower. So when you get your hands on a Task 2 question, first thing you'll do is you'll read it slowly, carefully, 2 or 3 times, just to make sure you have a clear understanding of it. And then you're going to circle any words that you don't understand. So the first thing that I want you to do today is read the question and tell me if there are any words that are new or that you don't know. Okay, so let me just pull up the question for you here. Okay, so this is the question. So read the question and tell me if there are any new words. And hi, Sashita. Okay, so I'll just give you 1 minute, 2 minutes for this. Hi, Bashir. Okay, so does anybody have any vocabulary that they don't know, any new words? You can go ahead and post it in the comments. But what I'm particularly interested in is the phrase going home to their families. And what type of family are they referring to here? So when they say this, they're referring to, a specific relationships. And what type of family do you think they're referring to? So it would definitely mean family time. The idea is that you're spending time with, that these people are not spending time with family because they're working. But like, let's say, for example, when we say go home to their families, they're not referring to extended family. They're not talking about, cousins or aunts or uncles. So what type of family are they referring to here? Noni, yep. So Noni here says, I think they're referring to wife and children, and that's exactly right. That's exactly what we're looking for. Because let's say if I was living with my parents and I'm working, this is not referring to this question. So this question means going home to their wife or their husband and their children, not going home to their parents. So we're talking about people who are, who have their own children, who have their own families like that. And that's important because that really sets us up for, what type of effects that we will look at later on in the question. Yep, so husband or wife and children, or child and children, definitely. Good, so everybody else is getting that as well. Shashita, good. But not parents, but definitely wife and children. Arbin, loved ones would be too broad. Loved ones would include your parents. And Ryan, for Ryan, I would say definitely sign up for the live feedback lessons that I have. With my newsletter subscribers, I have another 3 lessons this week. So if you need more support, make sure to let me help you there as well. Okay, so the next thing that I'd like you to do is we're going to analyze this question in more detail. And there are a few questions every time you're answering a task 2 question. There are a few things that you can consider, and that will really set you up for knowing what steps you need to take next. So let me show you the questions. So these are the questions here. So step 3, A, B, C, D, and E. And can you just type up the answers to those questions? And again, I'll give you, let's say, 2 minutes. Okay, so for any of you who are not ready yet, we have about another 30 seconds. Okay, so I have a response from Noni and Shashida. So we'll go through Shashida's first. Winchi, we will be looking at ideas later on. So you're definitely on the right track, but we'll get to that in a minute. And Hassan, thank you very much. Okay, so Shashida, let's have a look at yours here. So first of all, the question is relating to a fact or an opinion. This is actually a fact. Now, it says, these days, many people spend extra hours in the evening at work instead of going home to their families. So that isn't, we're not discussing what somebody believes. We're not discussing, what somebody thinks. So you would have maybe an expression like, it is believed that, it is claimed that, when an opinion is being introduced or being discussed in the question. But this is actually a fact. This is really happening. This isn't somebody's idea. There really are people who are working these extra hours instead of going home to their families. Okay, so the next question then, are there examples in the question? And in this case, there are not any examples. So it would say something along the lines of such as, or for example. And the reason that we want to check if there are examples is because a lot of students, a lot of IELTS candidates try to write about the examples in their answers, but that's not necessary. In this particular question, there aren't any examples, but that's why we want to check for that. Next, how many concepts are in the question? Shashida again, there are 3. And in fact, there is 1, but what I'm just referring to here is the part of the question that says, these days, many people spend extra hours in the evening at work instead of going home to their families. This is one concept. Now, I know there are 2 parts of it. So they're saying they're spending extra time at work and they're not going home to their families. So that is, there are 2 descriptions here, but this is the one concept, in that the reason they're not going home is because they're working late. So those 2 things are connected. So it's really one concept. More likely when there will be 2 concepts is if the question says, discuss both views and give your own opinion. But again, it's important to just look at that and analyze that. And as well, Shashida, don't worry about getting any answers wrong, because that's what will improve your scores. So let's have a look at the rest of these questions. D, is your opinion required? And here, Shashida said yes. And technically, your opinion is required. But the thing is, when I ask, is your opinion required, it would be, I agree, or I disagree, or something where you actually have to use the word I. Now, you're saying, the question says, what is the cause of this situation? That's obviously your opinion is, the cause will be your opinion of what the cause is. But in your answer, you're not saying, I believe that the cause is. What you'll say is, the cause is. So you'll just say what the cause is. And, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, or if the reader agrees or disagrees with you. The fact is, it's not asked as, what do you think is the cause? So you won't use the word I think or I believe in your answer. Okay, and the final question then, how many main ideas does the question need? And in this one, we need 3. We need 3 ideas, and this is because the way the question is phrased, and possibly Shashida, I've made a lesson on this already, so possibly you haven't seen that. So the first part of the question, what is the cause of this situation? So it says cause, not causes. It's not plural, it says cause. That means we need 1 cause. Then it says, what are its effects on society? Effects, not effect. So that's plural, that means we need 2. So to answer this question, we're going to need 1 cause and 2 effects. Okay, great. And so thanks for all your participation. Thanks, Arbin. Thank you, Sandy. When Shashida, Ryan. Mr. Byte is here. Hey, Mr. Byte. Okay, so those are the first things that we wanted to do, and next we will just look at the next two steps and the final steps in analyzing your question. Now, look, I know when we're doing this together, we've been doing it for 10 minutes. When you're doing it alone, you're not talking about it, you're just doing it in your head. This takes like 1 or 2 minutes. So I'm not asking you to spend, you 40 minutes to do task 2. I'm not asking you to spend 15 minutes analyzing the question. You just get used to these steps, and as you use them regularly, it'll take you 1 or 2 minutes. You'll do most of the steps instinctively when you're doing it for a while. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to do step 4, which is write the question in your own words. And after that, I will compare. So normally you would do step 4 and 5 yourself, but I want you to do step 4 and I will do step 5 for you. So again, let's say 2 minutes, write the question in your own words. Okay, let's just say another 30 seconds. Thanks, Ryan and Ezra. So we have some answers already. Noni, thank you. Okay, that's great. So we have 4 answers here. And I'll go through these now. Just give me a moment to get myself organized because I want to put these in front of you on the screen. Okay, great. So we'll just go through these and I'll explain, any things that might have been misunderstood. And basically, when you're in the IELTS test, this is what you're doing. You're going to take what you've written and you're going to compare it with each word in the question. And hopefully you'll find a mistake, because that means that you'll have stopped yourself from going and giving an answer unrelated to the question. And, there's every one of these steps has a purpose. And the thing is, a lot of students, a lot of IELTS candidates, they misunderstand the question. And if that happens to you, you're not going to have a high task achievement score, because your main ideas need to be relevant. And if you don't know what the question is, how can they be relevant? Like if somebody talks to you and you didn't hear them properly, you're not going to answer the question they asked because you don't know what the question is. So it's like that. And this step is really, really important. Okay, so let's go through these here. So can I make this a little bit bigger here? Okay, so first one, in recent days. Now, the question says these days, and in recent days, this is just a vocabulary thing. This doesn't mean that you didn't understand the question. But in recent days more implies it's in, the last week or two. Whereas these days means the current situation. So the meaning is different. That doesn't mean you misunderstood the question. So that's more of a vocabulary thing. Most people stay longer time in their works in the evening rather than with their families. Yep, so that's perfect. Beyond the vocabulary mistake, that's exactly what we want. Excuse me. Why people prefer to stay at work instead of going home. Now, it doesn't say that people prefer this. So that's changed the meaning of the question slightly. There's nobody saying that, if they prefer it means they want to stay at work instead of going home to their family, but the question doesn't say that. It just says they are doing it. The way they feel about it, or any emotional feelings, that's not included in the question. But that might be one of your main ideas later on, but for now, that's what we would need to do. Okay, so next one. These days, a lot of people tend to spend more time at workplace instead of spend that extra evening time with their families at home. That's perfect. Recent days, a huge number of people spend additional hours in the evening at work instead of spending quality time with their families. Good. That looks good as well. Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much all we want to do when we're analyzing the question. And the next thing is to generate main ideas. Let me just have a quick look at the comments here. So thanks for those of you. Shashida, a lot of people nowadays work extra hours than spending just grammatically would be that time, the same time that they're working. Sanika, most people have focused on their career than spending time with their families. It's not necessarily that they're focusing on their career. So that would imply that they're trying to, get a promotion or something like that. That might be the case, but that is not what the question said. So again, just be careful with that. Okay, so you had some ideas earlier on. We're about to get started on that now. The number of people spending extra time at work, much more than going home to the family recently. Yep, good. And hi, Facebook user. What make people waste time at their work instead of going home? Now, Ala, I think you've understood the question, but you're putting your own opinion in it a little bit. So you believe that they're wasting their time, and that's your opinion, but that wasn't in the question. So just be careful. Be careful not to allow your own understanding to change it. Okay, so just two more. Most people spend some hours in the night at workplace rather than going home to their families. Home and house is a different meaning, Mr. Byte, but you've understood the question. Don't need a neutral background. Say no. At the start of an essay, you don't. No, definitely not. A lot of teachers teach that. A lot of teachers say it's a good way to start, but it doesn't actually, it's not required by IELTS. It's not going to push up your score, and there are enough things to do already. Is it okay to use nowadays instead of these days? Yep, you'll have to check the spelling, Ryan, but the phrase is perfect. Okay, so next we are going to generate ideas, and simple as this, all I want you to do is write down potential main ideas. Now, we said that in our essay we needed one cause and we needed 2 effects, but that doesn't matter right now. Just whatever ideas that you feel are appropriate. Obviously, you might have an idea and you know for sure that's not going to be appropriate, but any ideas that are potentially appropriate, I want you to write those in the comments. So again, let's go 2 minutes. You all seem to be able to keep up quite well with the lesson. So we'll go 2 minutes and then we will look at the next steps for generating ideas. So let me just get the question again. Okay, so that's it, 2 minutes, and put your ideas for the cause and the effects into the comments. We'll just have 1 more minute and then we'll look at these ideas. Okay, I'm still here. I'm just organizing your ideas in case you think I'm after fading away. Okay. Okay, great. We have a lot of ideas here. Apologies if I don't have yours on screen. We'll go through the other ones that I didn't get. Okay. Now, when we are analyzing questions, the first thing, when we're analyzing our main ideas, the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that they are actually relevant. And how we do this is we take the concept from the question, we take the concept from your main idea, and we join them together in a sentence. Now, if that sentence doesn't make sense, you know your idea isn't relevant. So as one complete unit, it should make sense. Now, let me show you what I mean here. So when we're looking at the first one, so the causes, we take your main idea and we say causes people to spend extra hours at work. So if I take the first main idea that I was given here, more job pressure. So when I put in this sentence, and if you could please just reply and tell me, does that make sense? More job pressure causes people to spend extra hours at work. Does that actually make sense? More job pressure causes people to spend extra hours at work. So just a yes or no. What do you think? Does that make sense? Hassan says yes. Okay, and Hassan, you're 100% right. Yeah, that completely makes sense because there's a cause and effect there. So they're at work, there's too much job pressure, and that's what's stopping them from going home. So there's the cause. They're under pressure, they have to stay at work. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Ala. Thanks, Abdul Wahab. Okay, so that's essentially what you want to do. You take the concept from the question, you take your own main idea, and you see, do they make sense when you put them together? Now, I want you to look at the rest of them and just tell me if, let's say, how many you think make sense. So we have these causes. So more job pressure, earning more money, looking for promotions, cope with increasing bills. Of those four ideas, how many of them make sense? So if we put these at the start of the sentence, causes people to spend extra hours at work, considering we've already looked at more job, let's just do these three. So earning more money, looking for promotions, cope with increasing bills. How many of those ideas are relevant? So you can just type 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. How many of those ideas are relevant? Thank you, Noni, Ryan, Win, Hassan. Thank you. Okay, so we have ones, and twos. So I think it's more likely I've explained this incorrectly. So we're not just looking for, is it grammatically correct? We're looking for the concept of, these people are staying at work late. Why are they staying at work late? So we have the first one, earning more money. So they're staying at work late because they want to earn more money. The reason that they're staying there is the extra money. That's what's causing them to stay late. That makes sense. Looking for a promotion, again, that makes sense. They want to do better than their colleagues. They want to outperform their colleagues. They want their boss to notice them. That's why they're working late. They want that promotion and to get ahead of their colleagues and anybody else that might apply for the job. They're staying late. And then cope with increasing bills. So again, that it's the same as earning more money. If I have more bills, I need more money. If I need more money, I need to work more. These all make sense. These are perfect. Okay. So let's look at the effects then. And like before, just going to see which of these makes sense. So in the same way we had before, people spending extra hours at work will result in, so this is the concept from the question. People spending extra hours at work will result in stress, will result in worse social relations, will result in tiredness, will result in misunderstandings and fights at home. So I think last time the problem was I didn't really explain what you needed to do. So apologies for that. But this time, again, look at those ideas and just tell me 1, 2, 3, or 4. How many of those ideas do you think are relevant? And in the same way, put them at the end of that sentence. See if that sentence makes sense. Okay, so I'll just give you another, let's say, 2 minutes. Okay, so thanks to all of you for replying. Gladys, Ala, Ham. Okay, so as far as I can tell, these are all relevant. Now, it seems like you're a bit confused. Maybe some aren't, and some are, and some aren't. But it would have to it would depend on the explanation. So far, they are. So, let's say, for example, the last one, misunderstandings or fights at home. So, what I'm guessing is this person is going to go along and say that because the person is working too much, that they're stressed or they're tired, or they want some time alone. They don't want to spend time with others because they've been working too much or something like that. So they're saying like that it is a consequence of the extra time spent at work is resulting in these family problems. To me, that makes sense, presuming that they do explain it in this way. Okay, so that's really, really good. I would say so far everything we've looked at is relevant. Now, the point of checking if your ideas are relevant is for people who often have irrelevant ideas. So it's not that every time you generate an idea it's relevant. You don't need this step. So we're not just going through the steps because I told you to do it. We're going through the steps because it's required. It's necessary for some IELTS candidates. But if every time you generate an idea they are relevant, don't do this. But if you struggle with generating relevant ideas, go through this process and that will improve your score. So don't do it if it's a waste of time. Do it if it's going to help improve your scores. Ryan has to leave. Okay. See you next time, Ryan. Thanks for joining. Okay, so next step is to check if our ideas are specific. And in fact, all of the ideas we're looking at here today are specific. So let me just show you. I was working with another student during the week. What they said was cause of this situation was that the person had challenges at work. Or no, they just said challenges. And I had to ask them, can you please explain what do you mean by challenges? And they said, well, the company has higher targets, or they have very high results that they need to achieve, or they have, and he was able to list several challenges. And again, that was perfect. Those ideas were specific, but if he had used challenges as his main idea, that's too vague, because we don't know, we still don't have, when as the reader or as the examiner, we can't imagine what's happening. It's too vague. There are some challenges. What are they? I'm still waiting for more information. But in the case of the ideas that we looked at today, these are all specific. So thank you for those of you who've shared. You're doing a really, really good job with this. Last week we looked at an introduction. We got started on that. What I'd like to do is just jump straight into a main body paragraph today. And what I'll do then is I'll take a look at some of your work. I'll be able to give you feedback on vocab, grammar, content, if your explanations and your examples and all the development is relevant. But let's all look at the same main idea. If we all have the same main idea, we'll be able to learn from each other a bit more, because we'll all be looking at the same thing. So let's go with this one, tiredness. So what I want you to do for this question, write the first main body paragraph with the cause being tiredness. Obviously, this is going to take you a little bit more time. So let's say I'll give you 5 minutes. If you're finished early, go ahead and post it in the comments. But 5 minutes, to write the first main body paragraph to explain and exemplify how. Oh, I'm after getting myself confused here. Sorry, this is an effect. Apologies. And I think that's earlier on where I thought I had explained myself wrong. I had actually just looked at this wrong. This is an effect, not a cause. I got that mixed up. Apologies. Okay, so we'll write one main body paragraph for the effects. What are its effects on society? And we're looking at tiredness. So write the main body paragraph, topic sentence about tiredness, explain it, and give an example. 5 minutes. Hassan, yep, it'll definitely be saved on YouTube and Facebook. Shashida, yep. Ala, so can you write the main body paragraph for the effects? So this would be the second or third main body paragraph. So include tiredness as your topic sentence, explain this effect, and give an example. Okay, so just one more minute. I'll take a look at any answers that are posted. Thanks, Ella. Okay, let's have a look at what I have, and if anybody comes up with other comments, we can look at those in a moment. Okay. So this is going to be, like, let's say this is likely going to be paragraph 3 of our essay. So we're going to have the introduction, we're going to have the paragraph about the cause, and this is going to be the paragraph about the effects. So first one here, most people spend more hours in the night at workplace rather than going home to their families. So this would be a paraphrase. I believe this is a paraphrase rather than a. So this would be the first sentence of the essay rather than the first sentence of the main body paragraph. So Ella here. After a long day at work, after spending extra hours, so we'll go this way. After a long day, spending extra hours at work, coming home with more paper. People are coming home with more pressure, and this. So because it's a situation that's already happening, it's not that it's not something that's coming in the future. It's something that's happening now. So we go on. This causes tiredness and will affect the general health. Okay. So and effects. So in this, we don't have an actual explanation of what's causing the tiredness. Now, I think this is a bit of a. It's just so obvious. If you're working more, you're going to be tired. Everybody knows that that's what's going to happen. But the thing is, you have to imagine. I don't know. You have to tell me, or you have to tell the examiner. So you're not talking about the problems of tiredness, or if people are tired all the time, that affects the health. That's a different idea. So you're not telling me what are the effects of tiredness. You're telling me what are the effects of working extra hours. So in this case, what we have here to say that it affects the general health, that's not relevant, and that more pressure causes tiredness. You have to join the ideas together a bit more clearly for me, because I don't know why stress causes tiredness. You have to tell me how do these two things happen, and is it the job is causing stress and the stress is causing tiredness? And if that's what's happening, then why would the main idea not be stress? So why would you just not say what are its effects on society? People are more stressed. So if it's a chain reaction, like extra work leads to stress, which leads to tiredness, that's too complicated. So the main idea would want to be stress, if that's what you wanted to talk about. But even if stress was the main idea, you don't want to go down the path of saying the effects of stress. You need to explain what is causing the stress. Where is the stress coming from? So they're working late hours. Now they're stressed. How did one thing lead to the other thing? So you have to make the connection for me. And that's what your explanation is, to make that connection. Okay, so thanks for those. Let's have a look at some other answers here. Arbin, to put it in another way, when there is more job pressure from the higher officials, the clients have to work for longer hours to impress them, resulting in the employees having to work for longer hours than they should. Okay, so this would be a discussion of the cause rather than the effect, but yep, that makes sense. For example, according to a survey conducted by Oxford University, an average employee works for 10 hours a day, which is more than the recommended time from a renowned labor organization. So your example is about how many hours people are working, but the paragraph is about what is causing this. So you said that the cause was more job pressure. So your example has to be people, an example of a group of people, or maybe a company, or some people you know, or a lot of people in my country who are working extra hours because of the job pressure. So it's not just to say there are a lot of people working extra hours, but why. The paragraph is about why they're working extra hours. So the example has to be also about that main idea that you've given. Thanks, Arben. Ezra, a society that people spend time at work can be less productive and tired. Those would be two good. Those would be two good effects. They would need to be in separate paragraphs, however. Arben, you've written about the cause. No problem. That's fine. Allah, it's a weak sentence. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Noni. So we'll look at Noni's, and then if you have to go, so this lesson was supposed to be an hour, that's fine. If you have time, you can ask me any questions you have, and I'm happy to answer those for you. So Noni says, spending a lot of time at the workplace rather than families could potentially affect health. Okay, so next is, why does it affect health? Tiredness is one of the effects which results from being late without taking breaks to spend with others and family. Okay, so you're getting things a little bit mixed up. You're getting kind of things the wrong way around, Noni. So you have to start with that main idea was tiredness. That has to be in the first sentence. So it'll have to be something along the lines of, one of the big effects on society of people working late is that many people are very tired. Then the explanation is going to be, because they're spending time at work instead of relaxing at home, their bodies and their minds don't get any break, which means that the tiredness builds up, and then you can talk about those other things. Yep. So just make sure you have them in the same order. State the main idea first. Explain why is this happening second. Okay. Thanks, Noni. So some questions here. Arben. Sorry, Arben, give me 1 second now. Let me get rid of the question there. Okay. One question. Do I need a conclusion sentence for body paragraph? No. No, you don't. You need a conclusion in your essay, but you don't need a conclusion sentence. No, not necessary. It's hard to paraphrase the main idea multiple times. It is if you're not allowing yourself to use the same words. But why are you doing that? It's not like any text you read. Like if you read a newspaper, if you read a sample IELTS essay, anything, you will find the same words used, because there are only so many ways to say something. That it's fine. If you have vocabulary to paraphrase, then absolutely you should. But if you don't, it's completely fine to use the same words again. So don't put yourself under too much pressure, because I know a lot of students do. They really try to avoid using the same words, and it usually results in lower vocabulary scores because they're using words that don't have the right meaning. In general, if you don't know a word, if you don't know a synonym, use the same word again. It'll result in a better score. Because, well, A, coherence and cohesion, the reader will know what you're talking about. B, you're not making vocabulary mistakes. C, if the synonym you use is so inaccurate that the examiner can't even understand what the idea is supposed to be, that could affect your task achievement score as well. So don't put yourself under too much pressure for that. Coming late and eating dinner late will affect your sleeping time and quality, which will affect your next day. Perfect. Yes. That's as an sorry. So this, in case you're not sure what Allah is talking about, this is an explanation for why people are tired, and that's very strong explanation. That's exactly what we're looking for. Shanika, so I have lessons on this. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see, I think there's like seven lessons on task 2, and pretty much anything you need to know is in there. But to answer your question, introduction is paraphrase the question and say what main ideas you've chosen for your essay. So for this question, it would be paraphrase that question that we looked at, say what cause you're going to talk about, say what 2 effects you're going to talk about. That will be your introduction. Ala, sorry, I'm not really sure what you mean by this. But the word deep, I know, so I understand simple, but I'm not sure what aspect you're talking about. But in general, more than anything, your main ideas need to be relevant and they need to be specific. So where I've seen students try to think of, they already have ideas that are perfect, but they try to think of better ideas. They want ideas that are perhaps more entertaining or more interesting or more unique or something, some kind of variation of that. But all you want is relevant and specific. If you have a main idea that's relevant and specific, that's perfect. There's no such thing as another idea that's better than that. There might be another idea that you can explain more easily, but if you have a main idea that's relevant and specific, that's the criteria. Arben, can I contrast steadily increasing and rapidly increasing with although? They're no. So steadily is the line is straight. So something could increase rapidly and steadily. Sorry, my mirror's my camera's mirrored, so this is my opposite hand that I'm looking at. But like you could increase rapidly and steadily if the line was straight like that. But it could be rapidly like this, like it could be a curve, and that would still be rapidly, but not steadily. So steadily is about the line being pretty much straight, and rapidly is to do with the angle of the increase. So those are different things. So although the population of France increased steadily from that to that, it increased rapidly from that to that. Yeah. So it would have to be, you'd have to change steadily. So the first one is probably increased slightly is probably what you want for the first one, and then increased rapidly for the second one. Shanika, you're very welcome. Absolutely. Ala, yeah, definitely. Don't talk in general. It has to be, and it's specific is the word, and that's the word I was saying earlier on. Absolutely has to be specific. Thanks, Noni. Hopefully I'll see you at the live feedback lessons during the week. We'll continue working on your task 2s. Okay, so that seems to be all the questions. If there are more questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, we'll finish up there. Thank you all very, very much for joining. Much appreciated. We'll have another live lesson next week. If you would like more interaction with me and to get more feedback on your work, sign up for my newsletter. At the moment, I'm doing 3 live lessons a week with my newsletter subscribers. We're using the Zoom software, so it's a bit more personal than me reading your comments, which is great. I love this too. But yeah, sign up if you would like more lessons like this. And Arben, yeah, that works. That's good. Okay, so we'll finish up there. Thanks all. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Thank you for participating. And yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll go through another question. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.